understanding human behavior. It's very, very important to understand human behavior. Uh, why is it important? Because if you can predict behavior, you can get the best out of people. You can help organizations to grow. You can help departments to grow. You can also help the society to be a better society if only we can understand human behavior. And later, understanding should help in predicting and controlling human behavior. Because we are all interested in living happily, healthily, in a society that cares for us and in a society we care for. Therefore, the ultimate goal of life is to live happily and healthily and maybe live longer, and also to see all friends, relatives, well-wishers, everyone also lives with the same kind of circumstances and conditions. There are different ways of understanding human behavior. Essentially, first of all, we can say that people can be classified broadly as positive people and negative people. Positive people are those who contribute to positively to creation of a healthy and happy society. Negative people are those who probably take away the happiness and without their being conscious about it, contribute to unhappiness in the society or in their surroundings and with people and so on. No one is born as a positive or a negative person. I think it is circumstances that make us. Sometimes we also don't realize. There is both a positiveness and negativeness in our personality, but it is very important to discover the positiveness and maximize the positiveness. And discover also the negativeness and reduce the negativeness so that we can create a healthy and happy society. That is the ultimate kind of an objective. Now, how do you discover what kind of a person you are? We are what we are by virtue of the way we think, the way we act, the way we feel and make others feel, or the way we impact. So the way you think, the way you act and the way you impact determines whether you are a positive or a negative kind of a person. How do I understand? Our thoughts are easy to understand. That is through a method called introspection. Our behavior can be understood both by ourselves through a process of introspection after the event has occurred, and also by others who observe us. If we ask for their feedback and they give a very genuine feedback, a feedback which they observed, a feedback which of course they can also add their own point of view in terms of evaluating it, but descriptive feedback rather than evaluative feedback, of course with a string of also some evaluation, because otherwise we don't know the impact and so on. So we discover our own behavior as well as the impact of our behavior through something like feedback from other people. The third thing that helps us to discover our behavior is psychometric tests. Psychometric tests are those where they identify a predetermined set of traits or qualities or motives or values and so on, and through a set of verbal as well as non-verbal. Verbal where you answer a questionnaire, non-verbal where you speak, you interpret a series of stimuli that are given to you. And on the basis of these, I think the psychologists and behavioral scientists infer what is the kind of behavior that we are exhibiting. Psychometric tests will have some limitations because psychometric tests normally test on an a priori set of qualities. Though they may be reliable, valid, because good psychometric tests are those which have been validated, whose reliability has been established and so on. But all psychologist tests, most of the psychologist tests, except the ability tests, are fakeable tests. You can fake behavior. So the psychometric tests, particularly personality tests, have limitations because number one, the person is changing, and number two, the tests themselves are based on sampling of some of our responses, and number three, our own responses are fed back to us by reducing them into a few qualities, and they tell you are an introvert or an extrovert, you are a sensing person or you are a reactive person, or you are a person with high activity level, you are a sociable person, and so on. These are all labels given which represent, but these labels are important for some of the organizations and so on. However, psychometric tests can never explore your total personality. Psychometric tests explore your personality on the basis of what psychometric tests, that particular test, is supposed to measure. So the biggest limitation of psychometric tests are that they measure only what the test is intended to measure, with of course certain kinds of question marks. So you can't measure the entire kind of a behavior, and there is no guarantee that what the psychometric tests measure are always qualities that are important for success in a given job. Qualities required in one setting differ from qualities required for another settings and so on, although there are some common kind of qualities. Observation, I think, is a difficult kind of a thing, because if somebody else is observing you, that somebody else who is observing you, if he or she happens to be your boss, he or she observes you only for a short period of time, and the observations may be in relation to a preconceived mindset. Suppose somebody decides to observe you about your disciplinary behavior, whether you are a disciplined person or not. He or she will look for only those kind of things that fit into his or her framework of discipline. Or if the person wants to observe whether you are reactive or proactive, again, he or she has a definition of reactive or proactiveness and will have access to only those kind of situations and not all situations. Therefore, observation by somebody else as a method of understanding your personality also has limitations, but because it is dictated by the other person. That is where I think psychoanalysts like Sigmund Freud went to use other kind of methods, like I think they hypnotize you, they analyze your dreams, they look at, I think, what are the kind of thought process you have. They get you to also go deeper into your conscious, because they believed that quite a bit of behavior is decided by unconscious or pre-conscious kind of dispositions we have, the mindsets we have. That is where hypnosis and other kind of things become very useful methods of discovering yourself. But that is not observation. And again, in these kind of methods, psychoanalytic methods, the psychometrician or psychoanalyst or the behavioral scientist will have to depend on what you report, rather than their discovering totally new things. They draw their conclusions on the basis of what you have stated, maybe in terms of your dreams, maybe in terms of your thoughts, maybe in terms of your actions and so on. That means I think your own word becomes a very important kind of a word, and the way you speak, etc., are also observed by the psychoanalysts, and then the psychoanalysts can make attributions to your behavior on the basis of what you speak and what you state to be your thoughts. And they may give you some tests like a TAT test or a Rorschach ink blot test and things of that kind. Try to give the kind of dig out your unconscious mind, the kind of interpretations you give and so on. So there again, so they use multiple methods: observation, self-reporting, and things of that nature. A real good observation is the observation that starts without any a priori framework. That means every day you need to be observed. Every day what you do need to be observed and to be recorded. Consistency should need to be seen, and what is happening in your mind need to be recorded. So again, in a pure observation, you cannot totally depend on what the other person sees. For example, a camera may be able to capture a number of things that you do, but the camera won't be able to capture your inward process and so on. So therefore, what am I saying, friends? I am saying that human behavior is very complex. No one method can understand this behavior. Therefore, no one method is enough to discover your personality and explore and make brand your personality as this particular, you are this, you are that, this is your potential, this is your talent, and something like that. Our lifetime is very insufficient to discover what we are capable of, because our life, for example, I am now 72 years of my life has exposed me, if you multiply it by 72 by 365 days, and each day is a series of experiences, it exposed me to a variety of circumstances, not all of which were under my control. One thing led to another, led to another. So every circumstance that God created for me, every situation, every context that God created for me depended not necessarily on my talent. Partly it depended on my talent, but partly it depended on a whole lot of other kind of things. So if somebody invites me to give a keynote speech, it certainly depended on my ability to give keynote talk in that particular kind of a topic. But it also depended on the context, why that particular person thought of me, why not somebody else, why a particular topic and not some other kind of topic, why not that person thought of getting a HR or a psychology or a management person rather than getting a musician or a magician or a politician to give the keynote speech. So therefore, I have not decided when somebody invited to me, I am not the sole responsible kind of a person for what happens to me. The responsibility also partly lies with the environment. That is why Kurt Lewin always said, behavior is a function of both the person as well as environment, personality as well as environment. Therefore, in a lifetime, I can only discover, given the kind of settings, what are the kind of potential I have demonstrated, what more could I have demonstrated in these circumstances. For example, I cannot answer whether I could have been a good doctor, well, I could have been a good engineer, or I could have been a good politician, or I could have been a good scientist of different nature, working in laboratories, or I could have been a mathematician, or I could have been a great artist or a film actor. I think all these are possibilities which I didn't have an opportunity to explore. I think I had an opportunity to explore only certain kind of things. Therefore, I explored those certain kind of things which were decided by the college I went, the professors, the teachers I taught, the kind of parentage I have had, the kind of circumstances that were existing, the kind of technology that existed at that point of time, and so on and so forth. So that means what I have discovered in my lifetime of 72 years is a consequence, only a part of what I had, but also a consequence, a part of the environment to which I was exposed. If the same person is exposed to a different kind of an environment, maybe I could have discovered other part of it. Now that proves one important point. All of us are born talented phenomenally, but we can't discover even a small part of our talent in our lifetime. It requires several lives to be able to discover what we are capable of. Now there are no lives, there is only one life, there are only certain number of years. Therefore, we have to be satisfied and happy, limit ourselves to discover only a few things and be happy that at least this much I have discovered, this much I have accomplished, and I make sure those who work with me are able to discover a lot more in the circumstances. Can I create circumstances for other people to discover their own talent and make a difference? I think that is the kind of a question that we can ask. So we all can become instruments in the self-discovery or discovery of human potential of other people. These are just my random thoughts on psychology of human behavior and understanding human behavior. I hope you enjoyed this particular kind of a talk. If you have, please give your response on the YouTube after you watch the movie.